met. I was carrying around a backpack full of tin cans and glass mason jars. See, I'd been stringing the tin cans across the city like clotheslines, through them calling out to strangers, asking them if they counted their years like laundry, folding each week into the next. I asked you if past tense ever really happens, or was just a shoebox full of post-it notes we hand into another's keeping. You smiled and said you weren't really sure of anything except maybe Latin endings and chemistry. But you confessed that you began to witness the beginnings of your own collapse. You tucked your hand into the open mouth of science sitting between us and said, "We are just particles. And they are not so much rearranging anymore as they are shrinking and becoming mist inside us." You said you could feel yourself slowly collapse backwards into a memory right in front of you. You said you could feel the photo albums begin to form in your arms. I replied, "I'm carrying around mason jars, and they are beginning to empty. And I'm looking for a home for them, for a shelf for these glass bodies, for a front foyer, for a Chesterfield rotting with the kiss of termites. I guess I'm looking for the kind of love that leaves the kitchen door unlocked." That night, we decided the shelves of our house would be lined with mason jars, each one of them labeled the names of places we would go to together. The sound of coins joining hands and hearts of open glass would ring through the hallways of this house in jars labeled Stonehenge, Pyramids, Sundays spent so lazy, Parenthood. And the oldest jar we have, we will keep that one by the back door, so it will not witness any exit. It cannot pair safely with return. We will label that jar Sympathy. In that jar, we will put our first hair colors before we begin to silver. In that jar, we will put our tantrums, for they will belong to our children now. In that jar, we will put the eulogies of our parents. And one of us will need to visit that glass cage first, and this truth will hollow me out like the sound of unsettled change in my rib cage. When my mother falls the third and final time, when your father stops calling, when the smell of my brother's clothes in his closet becomes the perfume of my tears. How early is too early to meet the one you will always grow beside? How young is too young to meet the person you will shrink in front of? The night we met, there was sound of unsettled change joining in the heart of open glass somewhere in my middle ear, because that night was rearranging around us. If we are collapsing in place, then each time we kiss, we become clothesline years of particles, folding into the spaces we have left open and empty for each other's hands.